There is one tiny stretch of water that the entire world depends on. It's only about 50 miles long, but roughly 5% of all global trade squeezes through it. Ships full of cars, fuel, food, and electronics, all waiting their turn to cross from one ocean to the other. It's the Panama Canal. And a few years ago, it almost stopped working. A historic drought nearly choked it to death, and for a few terrifying months, global trade started backing up. The canal has since recovered, but the scare changed everything. Because now, multiple countries are racing to build something that could replace it, in a contest worth hundreds of billions of dollars. This is the race to replace the Panama Canal. In this video, we're going to look at why the world suddenly stopped trusting this canal, the giant rival projects now being built to bypass it, and the surprising reason replacing it might be almost impossible. By the end, you'll see why this quiet strip of water has become one of the biggest battlegrounds in global trade. But before we begin, please take a quick moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the biggest builds on the planet. It genuinely helps us out. Now, let's get into it. First, you have to understand just how important this canal really is. Before it opened in 1914, a ship traveling from New York to San Francisco had to sail all the way around the bottom of South America. A brutal, dangerous journey of thousands of extra miles. The Panama Canal changed the world overnight. Suddenly, you could cut straight through the narrow waist of the Americas and slice weeks off the trip. Today, somewhere around 13 to 14,000 ships pass through it every year. It is one of the single most important shortcuts on the planet. But here's the thing most people don't realize. The Panama Canal does not work like a simple ditch between two oceans. It's actually a giant staircase of water. Because the land in the middle is higher than the sea, ships have to be lifted up and then lowered back down using massive chambers called locks. And to do that, the canal relies on something surprising: fresh water. Every single time a ship passes through, the locks use tens of millions of gallons of fresh water, which drains away into the sea. And all that water comes mainly from one place: a massive artificial lake called Gatun Lake, which is filled by rainfall. And that is the canal's hidden weakness. Because if the rain stops, the whole system is in trouble, which is exactly what happened. In 2023, a powerful El Niño weather pattern hit Central America, and the rain dried up. It triggered the worst drought in the canal's entire 110-year history. The water in Gatun Lake dropped to record lows, and the people who run the canal faced a nightmare. With less water, they simply couldn't operate as many locks, so they were forced to cut back. On a normal day, around 36 to 38 ships pass through. At the peak of the crisis, that number was slashed to as low as 18 a day. Ships were stacking up. Some captains paid enormous fees just to jump the queue. Others gave up entirely and took the long, expensive route around Africa or South America instead. The canal lost hundreds of millions of dollars, and the whole world suddenly realized something frightening. The trade route everyone depended on was fragile. Now, here's the twist. The drought eventually broke. Through 2025, the rains returned in force and the lake refilled. By early 2026, Gatun Lake was so full, they actually had to release water. The canal bounced back to record revenue, and traffic returned to near normal levels. So you might think the panic is over, but it isn't, because that crisis planted a seed that won't go away. Climate scientists warn these extreme droughts could become more common in the future. Forecasters were already watching for the next El Niño, and on top of all that, the canal is now caught in a political storm, with the United States openly talking about wanting to take back control of it. So the world's biggest shipping players ask themselves one simple question: what if we don't put all our eggs in one basket? What if there was a backup? And that question kicked off a race to build an alternative to the Panama Canal. The clear frontrunner is right next door, in Mexico. It's called the Interoceanic Corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. And the idea behind it is brilliant. Instead of a water canal, Mexico is building a dry canal. A high-powered railway that stretches around 300 kilometers across the narrowest part of southern Mexico, connecting the Pacific Ocean on one side to the Gulf of Mexico on the other. Here's how it works. A container ship arrives at the port of Salina Cruz on the Pacific. Its cargo is unloaded onto trains. Those trains race across the country in under 6 hours. And on the other side, at the port of Coatzacoalcos, the containers are loaded onto a different ship to continue their journey. No locks, no fresh water, no drought to worry about. The project costs around $7.5 billion, and it's not just a railway. Mexico is upgrading ports, modernizing highways, and building a string of industrial parks and tax-free zones along the route, hoping to turn the whole corridor into a manufacturing magnet. And the timing is dramatic, because this project is largely opening in 2026. Mexico's president has openly called it an exceptional alternative to the Panama Canal. For the first time in a long time, the canal has a serious, functioning rival. But Mexico isn't the only one with big dreams. Further south, Nicaragua has wanted its own canal for over a century. A few years ago, a Chinese businessman actually launched a massive project to build a full water canal straight across the country, even bigger than Panama's. It collapsed in spectacular fashion, and the deal was eventually cancelled. But the ambition never died. Nicaragua's leadership has since floated a brand new route, hundreds of kilometers long, and has openly invited both Chinese and American investors to help fund it. Whether it ever gets built is a huge question mark. But it shows just how badly countries want a piece of this prize. And it doesn't stop there. Colombia has explored its own dry canal, using railways, and even ideas for a tunnel. There's been talk of a China-backed railway across Honduras. And of course, there's the simplest competitor of all. Ships can skip Central America entirely, unload on the west coast of the United States, and send goods east by train across the American mainland. Add all of these rival plans together, and you're looking at a competition worth a staggering amount of money, with the future of global trade as the prize. So with all these challenges lining up, is the Panama Canal finished? Well, not so fast, because replacing it is much harder than it sounds. Here's the catch. The single biggest advantage of the Panama Canal is simplicity. A ship sails on one side and sails out the other. The cargo never leaves the vessel. But with a dry canal like Mexico's, every single container has to be lifted off one ship, placed onto a train, hauled across land, and then lifted onto a completely different ship. That double handling takes time, costs money, and creates room for delays. By most estimates, even a successful dry canal might only pull away a small slice of the canal's traffic, maybe around 5%. It's a backup, a release valve, not a full replacement. And now that the canal's water has returned, some of the urgency has faded too. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. The race isn't really just about shipping containers, it's about power. Whoever controls these trade routes controls a piece of the global economy. That's why the United States is suddenly so protective of the canal it handed over to Panama back in 1999. And it's why China has been quietly investing in ports, railways, and projects all across the region. This little strip of land between two oceans has become a chessboard for the world's biggest powers. The ships and the cargo are just the pieces. So when you step back, the picture becomes clear. The Panama Canal survived its worst crisis in a century, and for now, it's stronger than ever. But the fear it created is permanent. The world has seen how fragile a single choke point can be. And whether it's Mexico's dry canal, a revived dream in Nicaragua, or a railway backed by a global superpower, the race to build a backup is only just beginning. The canal may have won this round, but the contest for the future of global trade is far from over. So here's my question for you. Do you think any of these rivals will ever truly replace the Panama Canal? Or will this little waterway hold its crown for another 100 years? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the projects shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.